Okay, this video is the topic I'm going to cover in this video is about debt, or the illusion of debt. There's many people in this country and elsewhere wringing their hands right now because of the state of the economies, and they're basically worrying about debt that really doesn't exist, right? It's all an illusion, and I'll try my best to explain why. And there is sites you can check this out on, this information I'm giving you, and I will include them on the video once I've edited it. Sites like Get Out the Debt Free. Anyway, I'll push on. Basically, all money is created with debt attached to it, right? And it's based in constructive fraud. I mean, it's been on for 300 years or more, right? The monetary system, the way it's set up, right, basically by the banking cartels, they have a charter with all governments to print money out of thin air. When you hear the likes of Osborne and all the other politicians, all scam artists, basically, right? I mean, maybe some of them are ignorant as to the way the system works, but you will never hear this from governments, and you'll never hear this from the media, right? They do want you to know how this system works. Basically, our treasury, and it's the same in the US and elsewhere, all other countries, which are controlled by the central bankers, they basically give those central bankers a charter to print money out of thin air. And when you hear them talking about public debt or public borrowing, right, that's exactly what it is. They go cap in hand to private banking cartels who own the central banks and many of the other lending institutions, and they borrow the money into existence because it's not there. The banks don't have it, right? Basically, they just go and get their ink and paper and print that money under the guise of being authorised by the respective treasuries. In the UK Treasury in this case, what we're talking about here, they supposedly authorise the Bank of England to print money out of thin air. Basically, that's all they do. But another part of the fraud is this: they print money, let's say £1 billion for a legal war or whatever, right? They print £1 billion, but they also add interest to it, but the interest is never created. So it's a mathematical possibility worldwide to ever pay that debt back. This is part of the constructive fraud, because only the principle is ever created. Now, because they have a charter to print money out of thin air, playing God basically, right? If you or me did it, we'd go to jail for 20 years for counterfeiting. But yes, these banking cartels get to do it, and that's the way it's been for 300 years or more. And that's why they're the richest families on the planet. I mean, the Rothschilds, for example, in 2002, the estimated fortune was somewhere around 200 to 300 trillion, possibly more. That's just a conservative estimate. That was in 2002. So they've amassed great amounts of wealth and assets and land, and they own half the world's wealth at the time. Again, I'm talking about 2002, so it's probably a lot more than that now. But this is how they do it, because you get to create money out of thin air. And in this country, we've got such a thing as English contract law. Now, in America and Canada and elsewhere, there's mass class action lawsuits been going on for a long time now, where the banks are basically giving in and handing people back the homes that they've had these repossessed, and they're also giving them the money back that they've accrued, right? We're talking sweat equity here, people's real money, tangible, right, that they've worked and earned for, right? The banks actually get to steal this off them by using this constructive fraudulent system. And many people are getting the houses back and the money, as I said, because the banks don't want this to be all out in the open, basically. And again, what I'm talking about here is people are wringing their hands and worrying about debt that really doesn't exist, right? I'm going to try my best to explain it in this short video, and I will put articles up on screen as I've done in the past, and a short video as well when I've edited it. So what I'm going to try and do here, I'm going to cover English contract law to start with, right? When you take a loan or a mortgage out with a bank in the UK, you are led to believe, and the majority of people still believe this, that the money supposedly comes from the banks, right? They don't have any money, and it's against the law in most countries to lend depositors money out, right? So the banks basically get to create, as I said, create money out of thin air. But what they do is, when your loan agreement or your mortgage agreement, once you sign that, once you sign on the dotted line, you actually, it's a process of basically called hypothecation, right? You turn that instrument into a financial instrument, that loan agreement into a financial instrument, right? And it's by you signing it, you actually create the money yourself, right? This is the part of the deception, right? So basically, all the banks are doing that is acting as middlemen. They never risk a penny of their money, right? Now, this is total breach of English contract law, and I'm just going to spell out the basic principles of English contract law, right? Now, I've taken an excerpt from a book, right, and I'm going to put it on screen. And you can download this online in PDF form. And it's called How I Clobbered Every Bureaucratic Agency by Mary Croft. And basically this is what it says, and I'm quoting here. The banks can't validate the debt because they have never sustained a loss, right? They can't produce a copy of the contract because one doesn't exist. Why? Because under English contract law it has to be bilateral. Right? What I mean by that is it has to be signed by both parties, right? And what you actually do is, when you sign that agreement, it's called a unilateral contract. Well, it's basically what they call void ab initio, right? Void from day one, because it's a breach of English contract law. And I'm just going to cover the basic principles of contract law right now. What exists is an unenforceable unilateral contract. What the banks refer to you as your contract with us is not a valid bilateral agreement, since the four requirements of a lawful binding contract were not met on the credit card application or your mortgage application. Namely, 1, full disclosure. We are not told that we are creating the credit with our signature. 2, equal consideration. They bring nothing to the table, hence they have nothing to lose. 3, lawful terms and conditions, because they're based upon fraud, constructive fraud. And 4th, signatures of the parties, both signatures, meeting of the minds. Corporations can't sign because they have no right or mind to contract, as they are legal fictions. Credit cards are win-win for the banks and lose-lose for everyone else. It's the slickest con game on the planet. Well, that's talking specifically about credit cards, but also covers loan agreements, other loan agreements, and mortgages, as I've said. Now, you know yourself, if you miss a payment, right, on your mortgage or several payments, you're at risk of losing your house. Now, that's how the banks gain tangible assets. They never risk a penny of their own, right? As I said, they just act as middlemen. But they con you into believing that you have borrowed their money, right? And woe betide if you miss a payment on your mortgage or your loan, because then they come knocking at your door, or you get court action taken against you, and you will lose your tangible assets. So you pay with your sweat equity what you've actually earned for 20 to 25 years in the case of a mortgage, or through a loan, as I said, and you stand to lose real property, such as your house, your car, or other goods. And this is how the con is played out, folks. It's been going on for about 300 years now, and basically they have legalised it. There's nothing lawful about it. They've legalised theft on a massive scale, right? So what I'm trying to point out to people is this: you don't have to feel guilty about debt, right, or not being able to pay it, because it was all created out of fraud anyway. It's the whole system is criminally fraudulent, and you should have no reason to worry or feel guilty about not paying those debts. And there are ways you can deal with this. I'm not talking about through the legal system, because that's also corrupt, right? I'm talking about, well, first of all, there's websites you can go to, like Get Out of Debt Free and TPUC, the People's United Community, which deal with this kind of stuff. And I'm not saying it's a perfect process, right, but I've done it myself and it has worked on several occasions. But you have to know, you have to basically do your homework. It's about the difference between common law and contract law, and it also covers what they call the straw man, right, which is a legal fiction created with your birth certificate. I'm not going to go into that right now, but basically all I want people to understand is this, that they create money out of thin air, ex nihilo, and basically get to play God, and the whole you indebted to them, right, through fraud. Right, so this is what I'm saying. There's no reason for you to worry about debt. There is ways you can deal with it, and I'm going to put a short video on just now, just to show you how the banks create money out of thin air.
When a bank extends a loan, it creates money. Let's say that I want to buy a very expensive watch of 100,000 euros and I don't have the money. I can go to a bank and ask for a consumption loan. Now, if they're a good bank, they say no, that we're not going to give you the consumption loan to buy this expensive watch. But if they do give me it, they don't give me a bag of money. They will just take my credit card, my passport, perhaps there will be something done on a computer keyboard, some signatures, that's it, right? I walk away with a watch on my wrist, very happily, supposedly. Now, at this point, money has been created. This money didn't exist this morning when I got up and decided to buy the watch and take out a loan. That's new money, fresh money. That's how banks create money. Banks bring new money into the economy as they make up loans. Therefore, if you expand the stock of money, you also expand the stock of debt.
Right? Basically, the banks sit there, they wait for deposits to arrive, and if they have enough deposits, they lend them out to somebody else. And that is completely wrong. This is the wrong model of banks, because what happens in reality is exactly the opposite. And I've done this, I'm a banker, I know that that's how it works, and you can read it on many central bank websites, that's how it works. Is that banks, when they decide the economy is good, we are optimistic, we are now making loans, they don't need to wait for any deposits, because when they make a loan, they create the deposit. Right there, banks create money out of thin air.
So there you go. What we're talking about here, and that film illustrates basically what I've already said, that they get to create money out of thin air and basically play God. And as far as I'm concerned, and many others are coming along to this way of thinking now, that the whole system is criminal from top to bottom, and you are the victim. You're not the perpetrator, you're not the criminal, right? But they will have you believe that, afflict it, and make you feel guilty about owing money that really doesn't exist. It's all an illusion, it's a deception, right? So this is what you have to understand, and it's a false belief system. And they will, and I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about here, right? They will reinforce this system, this false belief system, in your mind, your psyche, by basically penalising it, right? And there's many ways to do that. For instance, right down to the case, just we're talking about parking tickets or other penalties, fines in courts, court action against you, right? Basically, is to reinforce the belief that that money is real and that that somehow you owe it. And basically, I'm going to give you another example here. Here's a letter or a guidance sheet, anyway, information sheet about people who are in arrears. It's from the Financial Conduct Authority, right? Now, let's put it up closer, right? And basically what this does is, and you have to read between the lines, when it tells you if you are behind with payments and have received an arrears notice, this is important information for you. Don't ignore the problem. work out how much money you owe. Well, most people know how much money they owe. That's why they're fretting about it, right? But basically, again, it's just for you to sit down, work out exactly how much supposed debt you're in. You know, just blather your head a bit more to get you worrying about it a bit more. You know, contact the organisations you owe money to, right? Now, the reason behind that is, and what they don't tell you again, is that even if you're talking on the phone, right, you're verbally contracting with them, right, over the phone. So what I suggest is this: you ignore them altogether, right? Whether you get, if you know they're telling you to let them know you are having problems, they may be able to discuss options for paying back what you owe. But what they're not telling you is this, and you'll never get this again off any government agency or bank. Right, is that every time you contact them, you're entering into contract with them over and over again. So this is what you've got to understand. If they try to contact you by phone, well, blank them. Just ignore them. Right? That way you're not entering into contract. If you receive letters off them, there is a way you can deal with that. There's a stage process, basically called notice and demand, and I will cover this later on. Basically how you can download these templates from certain websites, as I said, Get Out Debt Free, and there are others, but you have to do your homework yourself. Get free help and advice. Well, free help and advice, it's basically all they're telling you is to buckle under. Basically, that's all they're saying. Put priority debts first. Well, as I said, it's all fraud anyway. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, prioritising it. Think carefully before borrowing money to repay debts. Obviously they want you to get loan sharks or anything there, right? But you may be able to ask a court for more time to repay a debt. Well, you don't really want to get to that stage in the first place, but as I said, there is a way you can get around this. Doing nothing could make things worse. Well, of course they would say that, but as I said, sheets like this are basically reinforce the false belief system that money is real, right? It's to reinforce it in your head, your mind, right? Which has you worrying about it even more.